Hi, and welcome back to Finally Revealed. In this episode, I want to talk about borrowing or withdrawing from your retirement plan. And these types of retirement plans I'm talking about are 401k plans, SEP IRAs, or simple IRAs, or an IRA that maybe you set up. Each of these, if it's an employer-based plan, which is a SEP, which is a self-employment plan, or a simple, or a 401k, those have governing documents. At the time that you start participating in one of these programs, you should read those documents. Each of those plans has an administrator. It's usually someone who works at the company, the boss or someone else, and they can explain any parts of it that you don't understand, and they can answer any questions. If there are not specific provisions in those plan documents, then you look to the federal law that gives these plans protection. What these plans do is they defer pre-tax income of yours or on your behalf made by the employer or by a match, and so you don't pay any income tax on those as earnings now, but you pay income tax on them when you withdraw the money, either in an early withdrawal, which that's what we're going to talk about, or later when you are eligible and in some cases have to start taking the money out after you reach certain ages. If you are in a plan and you are still working and you're not retired and you are 59 and a half years of age, you can start taking that money out without any penalty. If you are younger than 59 and a half years old, you have the right to borrow under certain plan provisions. Usually it's a 401k. Check to see how much you can borrow and what the payment terms are before you decide to borrow. Also, find out what your maximum amount is that you can borrow and how many times you can borrow against it before you've repaid it or after you've repaid it. In other words, can you take out $5,000 to pay it back and then, you need more money, can you go back and borrow another $5,000 or $10,000 before you've paid the first $5,000 back? Find out before you do anything. And that's borrowing. Now the borrowing has to fit in the parameters of the plan, and you can do it for certain types of things. And I don't want to go into all of those because it's going to differ based upon the plan. There are also ways that you can borrow or take out money to buy a house or to pay for educational expenses. So you have the borrowing and then you have the early withdrawal. If you are going to withdraw money and it's allowed, and there may not be any requirements if you're just going to withdraw it, but you can only do it once every 365 days. So not just once in a calendar year, but once every 365 days. So make sure you get the amount that you need, because you're not going to be able to go back to this source of funds for a whole year from when you take it out. Also, once you take it out, you have 60 days to put that money back. So if you're trying to bridge a gap, do your own kind of bridge loan, if you're buying a house and selling a house and you don't have enough money to cover everything that you need, so you want to take some out of your retirement, be very careful on when you're doing it. The 60 days runs from when you receive it, and it's got to get back there. Make sure when you borrow the money or withdraw the money that you know exactly everything you're going to need to do to put it back. If you don't put it back within the right time, under the conditions that the plan people set up, and make sure you know what that is, and also verify it a week or so before the deadline, if you're waiting until the deadline to get it back in so that you comply with it. If you don't get it back in on time or at all, then that money is taxed on the year that you received it along with your income tax, and if you're under 59 and a half years old, you have an additional 10% penalty on top of that. So if you took out $10,000 and you didn't get it back in the 60 days and you made $40,000 that year, now you have to report that you made $50,000 that year, $40,000 from your income, $10,000 on this, and another $1,000, which is your 10% of the $10,000 added. So your 40 plus 10 plus 1 would be $51,000 that you're going to report in income. And you probably didn't over withhold on your 40, so there's going to be tax that you owe on that additional $11,000. Now when you take out the withdrawal and you're not going to do a borrowing, you're just taking it out and then you're going to put it right back, you can have backup withholding taken out of that. So if you are not sure if you're going to be able to get it back on time or not, then figure out how much extra, for example, in our example, $40,000 plus another $11,000. What is the difference between your withholding or your income tax on your 40 versus your income tax on your 51, and have that extra amount taken out to pay that, so that tax is already paid, and then if you don't get the money back, you're okay. Just so that you know, I want you to know what you're doing. So you can borrow. Usually a 401k you can borrow. Look at the terms, find out what the terms are, what are the conditions, what is the interest rate. You might not even want to borrow from that if the interest rate is favorable for you to just take out a student loan for your kids or yourself, or buy a different house, or something else. If you're doing it to buy a house, find some other means. So check it. Don't just use this, because this should be your very last resort, because you're dipping into your retirement. Every day that is not invested, you are losing the benefit of the continuous compounding of interest, and that part can't be replaced. So you want to be very, very careful. But I just wanted to make you aware of some of these rules so that you can check them out in advance. So if this was helpful, give me a thumbs up. Leave any comments or questions below. Share this with someone who said they maybe were going to try to do this, or they weren't sure if they were going to contribute to their plan at work, and they don't really understand what it was all about, and they think it was a hassle. That's your money. The amount that you put in is your money, and then you can get all these other benefits. Subscribe to see the other videos, and please come back and see me next time. Thanks for watching.